Hello everybody. Okay, so if you know anything about me, I am Bryony, and if you know anything about me, you will know that I am all about welcoming the change. What change? Any change that you desire, because any change that you want is change that is going to make you feel good. Any change that makes you feel good is bringing you closer to unity of you divine. And when you are living each moment in unity of you divine, the creation that you bring is going to be better for you, better for your love of your living, better for those around you, and better for those that you don't even recognize that your living touches, because your energy is that important. Now, this might seem like a big intro to a video which is actually going to help you release a little bit of hip tension, potentially relieve a little bit of lower back niggle. But if you start from that intention of, yeah, I do want change, and actually, I trust Bryony, and actually, I'm hopeful that she's going to bring the change that I want, then you are going to be that much closer to stepping towards free. Free, living truly, exactly as you're supposed to be living. And when you live like that, you're going to love living your life. And just wind it back, because those hips won't be as tight, because you'll be able to run a little bit easier, because you'll love getting down on the floor and playing with your children more, because you won't be thinking, oh, that niggly lower back is there again, and is that going to be there when I want to be enjoying myself or when I want to be sleeping, or is it going to make work just that little bit harder? If you want change, you just need to trust yourself, trust in God, trust in me, that we can bring that change to you, and we're going to start right now. So, join me down on the mat. Here we go. So as you come down onto your hands and knees, you're taking your hands underneath your armpits, and your thigh bones are making a 90-degree bend, so your knees are directly underneath your hips. I want you to think about sticking your bottom up and out, lifting your sit bones, those bony bones inside your bottom that you would feel if you sat on a brick wall. I want you to think about lifting them and widening them away from each other, lifting them up the wall behind you. This is going to bring you to an inward curve of your lower back. That's exactly how it's designed to be. And if I'm welcoming change, if I'm bringing you back to divine unity of you, when we focus on your physical body, I am bringing you back into alignment with your perfect form and function. Your body working exactly as it's designed to work. If we think spine, that is inwardly curved through your lower back. And it will be different for all of you. But how would you know it's enough? You'll feel like you're sticking your bottom out. You might even feel like your pelvis is slotting down a little bit onto those thigh bones. Maybe you can feel a softening through here. Those muscles around your hips not having to work half as hard anymore, because you're bringing yourself back to a position that feels good for you. Now let's work up the spine. If you know that the lower back is inwardly curved, then you may well know that the upper back coming up between your shoulder blades is outwardly curved, like a little humpback bridge. And again, that's going to be different for all of you. In your perfect form and function, the curves are exactly as they're designed for your body, for what you need. But for all of you, there'll be this need to press up the back of the head behind the shoulders, because gravity's acting from above, and it's easy for us to slump down here. So think about pulling the spine up between the shoulder blades. Think about pressing the head up and behind your shoulders. And all we're going to do from here is keep that shape of your spine as we rock back and rock forwards. Now, for some of you, this will be a teeny tiny movement, okay? You might be thinking, hey, I could get all the way back here. Probably not if you haven't changed the shape of your spine. Any of you who've worked with me will know that I will say the words every single class. I don't care how big the movement is. I don't care about where you get to. I care about how you get there. And in this instance, you're getting there because you're asking the hips to flex a little bit more, to open a little bit more. You're asking from the movement to come cleanly through your hip joints as opposed to from your lower back. Now this is tricky, and you might think again, no it's not. It's tricky because your lower back is desperate to get involved. Your lower back is the bit that moves so easily. Your hips are the bit that don't. So when we're asking your hips to move, your lower back is on the precipice and it's saying, hey, I could do that for you. I could do that for you. And so we're having to engage something. The muscles around the bones of your spine. We're having to engage to stop that lower back from doing the movement. And you might be noticing now that my hinges are getting a little bit bigger. I'm not focused on the size of the movement. I'm wholly focused upon how it's feeling as I do this. How does it feel? As I sit back, those thigh bones are plugging in. They're deepening at the hip crease, and my sit bones are lifting and widening. I'm focused on keeping my ribs tucked in, especially as I come forward so that my chest doesn't drop. I'm focused on pressing the head up behind my spine the whole time. Okay, let's change this. We're going to start to sway from side to side. So I'm going to rock my weight to one knee and then rock my weight to the other side. Now you'll notice that there's a rock happening through my hands as well. You'll notice it more through your knees because there's more weight back on your knees than on your hands. But if you don't shift the weight through your hands, you're not going to be able to keep the length on both sides of the waist. In other words, you're not going to be able to stop the spine from side bending. And that's what you want to do here. Why? Because we're asking the thigh bones to move like windscreen wipers in your hip bones, in your hip sockets, sorry. And again, remember, that's trickier. What's easier is that your lower back does it, that it just wags its tail a little bit. So think, am I staying long from my sit bones to my armpits? Am I keeping that inward curve of my lower back, that outward curve of my upper back? Am I keeping the head pressed up? And am I asking that those thigh bones slot in and do a little bit more of the movement? Shall we add the two together? So next time you're ready and you sway to the left, ask yourself to stay on the left as you sit back. You might not go very far. Sway over to the right. Come back up that right side and back to the centre. Change direction, over to the right. Sit back. Sway to the left. Come up that left side and back to centre. Let's go one more either direction, over to the left. Sit back. Sway over to the right. Up the right side, back to centre. This time as you go to the right, really think of that length on the left side. As you sway to the left, keep long on your right. And then come forwards, back to centre. We're going to come into your cat. Your cat is such a well-known exercise. Most people think about cat, they think about spinal mobility. It is, but it starts somewhere else. It starts with hip mobility. Why? Because you've got to tuck that bottom down the backs of your legs. You've got to squeeze your sit bones together. You've got to get your hips to open this gap here. You start to look forward with your hip bones as opposed to down the floor. I'm only thinking about opening my hips. I haven't started to think about moving my spine. It's moved because I've rolled my pelvis. Now I'm thinking about pushing up or pulling up through my rib cage, opening between my shoulder blades, nodding my head. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, I want you to unravel from your bottom. So again, stay into the round shape of your spine as you stick your bottom up and out behind you. Pull long onto the sides of the waist. When you feel like these ribs are about to drop to the floor, reach the chest forwards, pick the head up on top of the spine. You don't want the ribs to drop because that's you losing the outward curve of the upper back. Okay? So from here, you're going to go from your bottom again. Sit bones squeezing together, pulling down the backs of the legs. There might even be a sense that you're pulling together through the inner thighs. Just think about the hips here. You'll go further than you think you can. It's like you're shining your pubic bone forwards. And then allow the spine to lift the spine up between the ribs, open between the shoulder blades and nod the head. Take a breath in, and then you're going to stick the bottom out again. You're going to be doing this movement a whole heap slower than you probably usually would in any Pilates class or any yoga class. Why is that? Because I'm having you think of every single joint, every single muscle fibre, heck, of every
single muscle thread involved in this. And what we're flowing to them is a taste of an experience of what might feel better. Does it feel better? If this muscle is a little bit less worky, does it feel better if this muscle is a little bit more engaged? So much more changing than just your musculoskeletal system, but let's just talk about that for this video. Okay, we're going to come into your rocking cat. So this time, or the next time you find your cat, pulling down through your bottom, pulling in through your sit bones. If you're doing this right, you're going to feel backs of legs and bottom engaged before you think of rounding into the upper body. You're going to hold into that shape as you now rock back. And then rock forwards. Remember, it's the keeping of the tuck that you want, keeping of the lift of the spine. So again, don't focus on how far back you're going. Don't let that be the thing that says, oh, I'm doing this well because I'm doing a really big movement. You want to think about how you're doing this. If you can get further back and keep the tuck, and keep the hollow up of the ribs, and keep the width between the shoulder blades and the nod of the head, then great, make the movement bigger. But if you're starting to untuck, if you're starting to drop the chest, if you're starting to poke your chin out, make the movement smaller. Come back to doing it well. Last one. And then once you're forwards, unravel. You haven't done a lot, but there's going to be a lot of change that you've welcomed if this is what you want. So we're going to go back to those hip hinges where we started. Sitting back, coming forwards. Certainly feels different for me. Does it feel different for you? Does it feel like you can maybe go further? But to go further in the right way by tucking the thigh bones in. Does it feel like you can keep the lift of the back of the head a little bit easier, that round shape through the upper body? Give it one more. And then take a breather. You might find that here you want to bring your toes together and let your knees be wide as you come down into your resting position. We're going to finish with breath. So if you stay down into a position and then you allow yourself to breathe in and create space somewhere where that feels good. And then breathe out and create a softness somewhere where that feels good. And again, breathing in, create a space. Don't force it, don't push it, you're just flowing the breath. And as you breathe out, you're inviting a softness. You're energetically in this moment flowing towards your body. And notice of the change that has been created. And you're saying to your cells, grab onto this. If this feels good, I want more. I want it to feel even better. Because if it feels good, I trust and I know that I'm aligning to my perfect form and function. Because you are not here to endure a lower back pain. You are not here on this earth to put up with tight hips. You're not here to live a life that would be a bit better if I didn't have to, endure that. You never came here to endure. You came here to create. You came here to love living your life. And the best way to love living your life is to live your life in divine unity with you. So as ever, comment underneath. Let me know how you feel. And I'll speak to you soon.